Welcome back to Learning Matters. I'm Doug Woldridge, your host, and today we have Lisa Ekern, a Senior Instructional Designer here at ttcInnovations, to discuss how she found herself in the world of learning and development, what she's learned over the years, and where she sees the industry headed. Let's get to the interview. Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast, Lisa. I'd like to start with how you found yourself in a career in learning and development.
Certainly, that was an exciting journey for me. Very different than one might expect or others have experienced. I actually started out with a career in counseling, helping teens who were inpatient mental health kiddos who were having a rough time in their life. It was a very rewarding and challenging job, but after a while, I decided I needed a change. I thought I would go into corporate America and solve all of their problems. And corporate America decided that I, in turn, would be a teller. So that's kind of funny. So here I am in a banking center, not doing what I studied to do in college, but it did become my financial journey, if you will, in corporate America. And in the banking center, I had the opportunity to work in sales and sales management. And it was through sales management that I really found a budding love for training, if you will. My favorite part of my job was when I got to coach my associates, teach them how to do new things. And one day I was talking with my manager and I'm like, gosh, this is my favorite part of the job. Why isn't there a job like that? And he said, spoiler alert, there is. It's called the training department. So that's how I found out about training. And I made my way over there. Barnett Bank of Florida back in the day. Rest in peace. It is no longer with us, but many mergers ago, they were standing up a new training organization. So I spoke with the director and was blessed to be one of the individuals selected to join their team. I actually started in facilitation for a number of years, using my sales center knowledge. I worked with our sales associates. I worked with managers. I taught information about selling loans and such. One thing that was really neat about my facilitation journey is I actually got to tour the state of Florida with our very own Teresa Chiaputo.
Hey!
Woo! We were together coaching, doing power coaching for our managers. And it was a 2-day course, so we flew all around the state of Florida, and we were able to get their skills up to speed. So that was great. That was the beginning of a long friendship for Teresa and I. So great fun. How did I become an instructional designer though? Because we're just talking about facilitation. Interesting. The real estate department at Bank of America, many mergers later, they decided that they wanted to stand up their own instructional design team. They no longer wanted to wait for the Bank of America enterprise. If there's a list and they didn't want to be on the list, they just wanted to handle it themselves.
That's right.
So I was very blessed to be one of the IDs selected to be as part of that team.
And do you remember what your first project was and maybe what you learned from it?
Yes. I actually thought about this a little bit. My very first project was, of course, with the real estate group. I created a course called Mortgage Basics and Beyond, easy for me to say. It was a facilitator-led class experience, and it was designed, if you think about mortgage, just 101. What do I need to know when I'm getting started with it and working in the mortgage industry? And I was not your typical ID. I found a lot of instructional designers went to college for instructional design, or if they studied something else in college, they had their master's, or maybe they had their master's in education or their doctoral degree. I had none of those, just a regular. And I'm like, okay, so here I am in the land of instructional design, and I need to make this course. Okay, go. And we were blessed, though, in Jacksonville. We had a state college there that did teach instructional design. So I was able to go and take a course there, learn some of the foundational information. And it was really wild. I was taking a course and doing homework, and my homework was actually my job because you were creating a course for your class.
Love when that happens.
And then I was doing my job. So that was a win-win. I would say, what did I learn from my job, my first project, number one, you really need to use the instructional design process. You need to follow all the steps. You really can't just pick and choose one because they all build on each other.
Yeah.
It's really important to build a rapport with your client, to get to know them, to understand what's important to them. So it goes back to my sales training, asking the right questions to identify the needs. When you're in sales, you want to know what's important to them so you can sell them something. In training, we still need to know what's important. We're just selling them knowledge instead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yes, exactly.
Is there, if you could go back in time and you could give yourself just a little bit of advice when you were just starting out, what would that be?
I think this advice would probably apply to me then and now, always. Relax, enjoy, breathe, and enjoy the ride. It's quite an adventure in the land of instructional design. And sometimes we get really uber focused on a timeline or a deliverable or the fact that we have multiple deliverables and the timelines are, and if we focus on that versus the joy of designing, then we can lose our passion and our focus, and that spark can fall away from our learning. So really, you have to enjoy the ride, and that way your learners too will have a more memorable experience in the long term.
I love it. And has your approach at all changed over time when a new project comes in?
What's really funny is probably ever since I've been at TTC, I really have used the same approach, which is preparation, preparation, preparation. The degree to which you prepare and the things you're preparing will vary based on project, but it really is getting in there and getting ready before you even speak to the client. So you need to understand who your client is, what their company is, what do they do, what is their vision, what is their mission. If you've never supported them before, you need to know all of those things. And then you can think about, okay, what's my topic? Is there any way I can learn anything about this topic before I actually speak with my client? Just so you have a little knowledge base, because all of that helps you build rapport with your client. And if you can have rapport with your client, the rest will be easy. They will be on board to answer all your questions, of which we have many in the land of instructional design.
Oh, yeah.
And when we have a project, we learn something new every time. So while I still go through my same preparation process each time, I usually am pulling something in from a past project, like I need to prepare this in addition because I didn't do that last time and it was a little bit more challenging. So for me, it's you still prepare. You just have a wider list of things that you get to prepare in advance.
Do you have like a particular learning style yourself when you're, let's say, learning a new line of business or maybe even a whole new client that you think influences the way that you design for others?
Yes, I would say so. My desired style of learning, I would say, is reading and listening. And really, it would be listening, then reading. I like to listen first, but I like to read at the same time. And I find when I'm taking a course online, if they have an audio that supports what I'm reading on screen, and then the graphics also support what I'm reading, it all ties together and it makes it easier for me to understand.
Yes.
So likewise, when I'm developing training, I keep that in mind. And if we are creating, say, a facilitator-led class, then I'm creating a very robust script for that facilitator so they know what to say and do, and then have the appropriate visuals and the appropriate text. We don't want to overload our learners. We want to have appropriate amount of information available for them. Same goes for online courses. We're going to have audio. We're going to have those visuals. We're going to be reading. So we're able to touch into a number of different senses. And I feel that helps our learners to retain the information we're sharing with them because we're hitting them literally in a lot of different places. One other thing that's kind of fun is and this is really more for facilitator led, is have the learner become the teacher without them knowing. create activities where they're going out on their own tools and available at their company. They're researching to find answers to questions their facilitators are answering. And now we have them teaching without them knowing.
Brilliant.
They're teaching and learning all at the same time. And it makes it more fun for them because they're engaged, not just being taught.
Yes. I had a podcast several months ago at this point, and one of the things that we talked about is that to really make successful training, it requires having people. And I think you just touched on that a little bit with sending folks out into the world and having them really socially engage with their coworkers, with their managers, and keep the learning on that individual level to a point of where once they start interacting with each other and sharing information, they're able to actually keep learning and make it exciting for themselves that they get to share that knowledge.
Right, exactly.
Something you discussed was not overloading folks with too much information, especially in text form. How do you balance getting the right amount of information to them so that they're able to actually learn what they need to learn without overloading them?
Exactly. One of the neat things for us as instructional designers is we have a lot of different modalities through which we can teach. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they're always saying is bite size, keep it small. We can't sit them down and expect them to pay attention for 3 hours in a row. You can build a 3-hour course,
sure,
but not all in a row in one sit.
Yeah. Please.
One of the fun things I've had the opportunity to do in the past is to use a number of different modalities. First off, you create a little introduction video, animated video. Your little animated people have voices and they talk and they're kind of silly and they have props and they have scenes that are appropriate to the target audience in the background. You can make those sort of silly so that, if you're talking to a scientist, you can make a messy lab in the back and they'll just giggle because they know that would never fly. Or if you're talking to a bank, you might, have a teller drawer open. Again, something that would never fly. But anyway, you make animated videos, give them a little bit of humor, give them a little bit of knowledge. Then the next step they take in their learning journey is they might have several online courses, not very long, but again, just giving them some foundational information. Mm-hmm. Then maybe we could build another layer on. My favorite layer, really one of the opportunities I was just speaking of is the facilitator-led opportunity where you've been reading and you've been listening, but now it's time for somebody to come and put some human touches on it and make it give you another layer of understanding. And then just a moment ago, you were talking about socializing training and getting it out there and sharing. And one of the ways I like to do that is to create a managerial coaching guide, if you will, to support the learning experience. Mm-hmm. So as the learners go through their learning journey, there are going to be stops on that trail where they talk to their manager. And the manager is going to be provided with some questions and answers related to what they've learned. So they can ask them some questions and they're making them tie back, recall that information, and then they can talk to them about how they're applying it on the job and see what additional support they need. So it's really a multi-layer methodology through which we give them the information, but if you imagine a map, literally a road map, along the way you have like a little rest stop where you have a video, then you have a class, then maybe you go to an online course, then you talk to your manager, then you're back to a video, and you just kind of take that across your road as you're going through your learning journey. And I think that helps if we can keep it in manageable doses using a variety of different tools. And those are just a few. There are many more tools that we could use. But that's just something. That's just a few little ideas.
And there's always some type of new software or tool coming out to help build training. And, everyone's always touting that this is the newest, latest, greatest, the best way that you can possibly make engaging training. Has there been any that you were a little skeptical of to begin with, but you ended up loving?
It's funny you say that. My main area of focus is design. So I'm not the one using all the cool tools. My developers are doing that for me. I have, though, had to learn a few tools because I was designing for the developers to work in a tool. But if I don't look in the tool, how am I going to know what they're supposed to do?
Oh, yeah.
So a few that I have learned over time, and they're not new bells and whistles, but they are reliable indeed. Beyond for the animated videos. I played in there. I made the messiest lab one day, and I just thought I was hysterical. But I was the only one that ever saw it. But it was great fun. But I thought, if I, a non-tech person, can do this, imagine what they can do. They can do amazing things. Storyline, I love it because it looks like PowerPoint on your slide where you're developing, and you have a place to put an image, you have a place to put your text, and there's all kinds of bells and whistles over on the right side that I'm not into, where they build the layers and the interactivity and such, and that's what they're for. But I like it that when they're building it, it's just a nice little box, nice, clean. Also, I like the fact that the text is really easy to edit within those little boxes. And then the one tool I've actually used is Rise. And it is, if you will, I like to think of it as an online book. You kind of scroll through and read. It's on your own thing. You can embed videos in it so we can use our Beyond with it. But you can read, you can have images, you can have audio, you can have videos. Not audio of the text on the screen, more you can put in a recording.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't want people to think you can have a narrated Rise, because you can't, because everybody wants that, and it's not available as of the last time I used it, which has been a few months, but still. The templates make it quick and easy to build a training, and our learners, like if you think back to what we were talking about, the journey that the learners will go on and all those little different touch points, this could be one touch point where they just read a little bit of information about whatever topic we're bringing them up to speed on. Right. We don't want to have them doing all the heavy lifting through the reading. But it is a great tool to give a little nugget, a little bite size of information. It's a great canvas on which we can paint that learning experience.
And where do you think the future of learning and development is headed? Maybe even just starting with like the design side of things.
Well, a quote I'm borrowing from someone else who I don't actually know. I've just heard them say it. The world is our palm tree. It is ever growing. It's always going to be changing. I think we're going to grow and we're going to blossom over time. I feel a passion about the fact that in order to successfully execute our ID processes, we need a full team, the strength of design and development. No one task within the ADDIE model can be, usually, some people are out there can do them all, but usually we need a team of warriors to execute the process. We need the visionaries who can go in and see what that big picture learning journey experience is going to look like. We need the people to get into the trenches and to learn the content and lay it out in a manner in which our developers can create it. Most importantly, we need our developers staying on top of the tools that come out so that they can bring it to life for our learners. And a team member that I really didn't even think of till just this moment are the tool developers out there, the folks that are making the tools for us. We really need them to continue to create new canvases on which we can create. So in regards to where we're headed, I think our journey is going to be ever evolving. We'll always be growing. But at the end of the day, our team will all work together to create those experiences for everybody. And it's always exciting for me to see the new and different ways our developers can bring the training to life for our learners.
Before I get you out of here today, I've got one last question. What keeps you motivated to continue learning about the industry and then creating successful, engaging training programs?
I think I focus really at the end of the day, and I even say it when I'm on my calls with my clients, I think about the learner. And I think about the fact that they're sitting there and that they're reading, if it's a web-based training, or they're listening, or they're watching a video, whatever it is that we're doing. And and they'll be saying, "Oh, we need to do this, 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 this," and we're like, "Wait a minute, let's think about the learner."
Yes.
How is that going to transpire? How is their going to experience be when we do it that way? And they're like, "Oh, yeah." So always thinking about the learner, the fact that they are the ones that are doing the heavy lifting of having to take in the information, to recall the information, to use the information on the job, and most importantly, to recall what their resources are and how to use them on the job in their moment of need. And the fact that at the end of the day, yeah, they might be in training full time if they're lucky, unlucky. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if that's the best thing, if that's all they do. But if they are juggling it in their day, thinking about their hustle and bustle of their day, we don't want to kill them with walls of words and dry content. We want to keep it exciting, as exciting as we can for the particular topics that we might. Compliance always might not be exciting, but guess what? We sure can make fun scenarios for them to think through. But really, my efforts are always thinking about the learner, what their experience is going to be, and what we can do to get them up to speed as quickly as we can, efficiently as we can, and making sure that they know where their tools are located.
I love it. Well, thank you, Lisa, so much for joining us on the podcast,
Sure.
telling us a little bit about your story and giving us some incredible insights on the industry.
My pleasure. Thank you. You do the same. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening. As always, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to sign up to our newsletter, The Buzz, to keep up with all things L&D. Just as a reminder, we'll be at DevLearn this year from November 6th through the 8th. So if you're in Vegas for the conference, reach out to me. I'd love to meet up with you, get a cup of coffee, and hear about all the exciting things that you've learned. See you next time.